Welcome back. Okay, actually, Readiness is in the studio, but before we introduce her, we'll talk briefly about wrestling. You know, they had a retreat at the weekend, talking ahead of the African Wrestling Championship coming up, you know, in River State, and you know, all the gowns, everyone were all there in the particular championship. For Danny Gali, talking about the president of Nigerian Wrestling Federation, he believes that everything is already in place and all they have to do is just come and see how they can make this particular tournament, you know, successful. About 25 countries will compete in it, and everything is set, everything is ready. We'll listen to him now. We'll come back, we'll be discussing more about the African Wrestling Championship coming up in Port Harcourt.
So yeah, great. This competition will be very keenly contested. Egypt are the perennial superpowers in Greco-Roman wrestling, so you should be watching out for them in Greco-Roman. Closely followed by Algeria. In freestyle wrestling, again, Egypt are the #1 ranked country in Africa, but we are going to give them a run for their money here because we are hosting it on home soil. That is in freestyle men. But in the female category, we are the kings or queens in African wrestling, and we are even going to add to. We are probably even going to add to our supremacy because we have it here. If we can possibly win all the 10 gold medals at stake, that's what we'll be going for.
Okay, I love what he said about the fact that Egypt, yes, they're good, but then home soil, Nigeria participating in 90 events in the championship, will definitely want to host to win. Chidebere, Iziani, good morning. Good to have you here.
Good morning, Cecilia.
How are you doing?
It's a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
I mean, from everything Igali has been saying, for as long as I can remember, he's been saying Nigeria's hosting to win.
Yeah.
And I mean, what are our chances really?
Considering we're participating in all the categories, I think we have a very good chance. And in recent times, you don't just want an administrator who talks. You want one who, you know, acts as he talks. And I think Igali, he's one of those people. He's passionate about the sport itself, which goes a long way. He knows what he's talking about, which means when he goes to a sponsor, or like he has done with the River State government to talk to them, he's, you know, in confidence of what he's talking about. I think the Nigerian team, they have a very good chance. We're growing side. We saw the lady Okoro Dodo, you know, she did it again at her club. So for me, I think it's an opportunity for the home-based, you know, team, the home-based athletes to showcase what they have and maybe get opportunities.
Yeah, interesting because you mentioned the girl, the lads and the lasses based in Nigeria. They've been in camp for a while now. I remember the last time he was on the show, he said, well, it was not a big fan of just camping, just putting them in camp. He wanted them to actually go out there and compete, but that's not the case. They have to, you know, make do with what they have and go ahead and perhaps win the competition for Nigeria. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it's going to happen. But the good thing is at least there's going to be an African championship that's going to set the pace for them. So maybe most of these athletes that are here, he's talked about the fact that the successful one will get a chance to join the elite athletes for the Commonwealth Games. And so that's the angle they're not looking at. That might just be the only major competition they will participate in before the Commonwealth Games championship starts. Okay, in April. Now, he's not the only one that is talking about this wrestling championship. We have a SWAN president, that's Sports Writers Association of Nigeria, talking about Honor Sirawo. He's been talking about the championship also, and the commissioner of River State, the commissioner for sports from River State, Boma AIA. They've been talking about this championship, what they intend to do, what the state will do to put in enough facilities, and not just that, having a wonderful hosting.
So, approving of this means that the LOC, the River State government, the Nigerian Wrestling Federation, you have acknowledged and understood that the media should play that promotional role, and they should play it in a way that the international community will appreciate that Nigeria has competent, sound, educated, and professional journalists in sports writing.
For the wrestling, our own is to provide the enabling environment to make sure that the Nigerian Wrestling Federation can pick or select wrestlers from the National Wrestling Championship we had last year. I'm sure they've been able to select some young junior and then cadet wrestlers that will take off from where they are now. So that's left for the Nigerian Wrestling Federation, and I know they will do that. My friend Daniel Gary has left a wonderful administrative structure there, so I'm very sure by the time this competitions and championship is over, they will take it up from there and grow the sport to the next level.
With Readiness to host, I mean, they don't have a choice, provide everything, and all the wrestlers have to do, come in, compete, and host to win. 90 events. How many medals will come out from there? 60?
About, thereabout.
Thereabout. 70?
I'm not ready to put a number to it.
Yeah, but I think when you see the confidence of Igali, you should know how his athletes will be feeling.
He's not the one wrestling.
Yeah, he's not the one, but then
but he's infectious.
It's just like when you look at the bench and your manager is, impressed and all smiles. It gives you a lot of boost. So I think that should work for them.
I like the angle.
I love that because I remember when Nigeria weren't performing well that David Moyes, when you see the face of the manager, you understand what's going on the pitch.
Right.
Okay,
You start
chat now, right? The African Nations Championship move straight to Morocco. What's happening there? Well, for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, I mean, after that goal, I was like, Ty, I'm not watching again. But then somehow the guys proved us wrong. I mean, you convinced me to actually watch, and I enjoyed the game much later. But the first half, I was afraid it wasn't the case of what happened in Rwanda that I was going to see against just Equatorial Guinea. But then somehow these guys showed us that yes, they can actually score. I mean, Anthony Okpotu, I mean, that outrageous goal.
A lot of flack for not scoring.
There you have confirmation of the results.
Yeah, 3-1. 1-0 to the Equatorial Guineans in the first half. I guess that was the wake-up call Nigeria needed because the second half was a totally different ball game. They upped the ante, they went in search of the goals, and they came courtesy. Anthony Okpotu, a belter of a strike from Dio Joe, as well as the ageless Rabi Ali, just sealing and putting cherry on the cake with a penalty in the second half. I mean, your overall impressions with the manner of this victory, the manner, not the result, and how the whole game, how would you rate the Super Eagles in this one?
It was a disappointing first half. I felt they were wasteful. Not just because they weren't scoring good chances, but because they were, they wasted a lot of chances, shooting from outside when it was quite irrelevant to do so. I felt they took the Equatorial Guineans for granted. You asked me the first half. Yes, they were a little bit lackluster in some of their actions. Shooting from so much distance. You would say, okay, it eventually paid off with Dio Joe's goal, but I felt in the second half they were a little bit more compact with their play, played with each other. They were not trying to outplay each other, which I felt was what they were doing in the first half. They played with each other, and they eventually got the 3 goals. I believe after 20 minutes in the first half, that game should have been done and dusted. But they didn't do that. But scoring 3 goals in the second half is fantastic. But you're in the quarterfinals now where there are no room for error. You're going to face a better side, of course, having come out from their own group. So they will definitely have to get it right. I think the day we score at our first opportunity, or at least the first 3 opportunities, might just be the beginning of good things for the team.
Yeah,
hopefully,
like I said, I mean, for me, Cecilia, you watched the game as well. Too. The first half was quite disjointed, very scrappy affair, and they didn't create a lot of chances. That's just the fact. The clearest chance was missed by Sunday Fale when Okpotu chested the ball down for him. That was the clearest chance. But the second half, like I said, they improved greatly and scored 3 goals. Well, you made a very good point. Is the quarterfinals now, knockouts. No room for errors because you are going to find yourself back home. Hopefully, the Eagles can go further than the quarterfinals.
From what I saw from them in the second half and in the game against Libya, I feel like they have what it takes to go all the way. But I don't feel the discipline from the team. I think they get easily distracted when they get on the pitch, and that can actually work against them.
It can work against them, but they have a few days now to put all that and sort it out before the quarterfinal match. Let's go and take post-match reactions after that game against Equatorial Guinea.
In the first half, definitely we didn't play as we used to play. You can see we allowed the Guineans to have more space to play. We allowed them more time on the ball, and it was very dangerous. And we discussed that, but at times players can be up for some time. So we told them that we cannot. I had the experience. We went out in 2015. Sunday Olise was the head coach at this level. The same scenario I say cannot happen again. So we talked to ourselves, and they came back and showed a lot of character, very strong character. Equalize, score another goal, was good. It was a good test of character. They have done well, but I think Dayo had done very well because since the first half he was trying to attack, trying to bring ball to the attack, and at the same time trying to organize the midfield. And when Rabiu came, he played more than the first half, and there's no stopping. I think he deserves our commendation. Yeah, we don't have a choice. Sunday, the two teams will have to play to win. So I think everybody will come top, and it all depends on what you create, the goal scoring opportunity to score, and you take your chances, and I think anything can win.
I think we are happy that most importantly we were able to qualify. We knew we needed to keep our heads. We knew this game was going to be tricky, and we knew we had to dig deep. Unfortunately, we considered the goal when we considered the goal, and all of a sudden it was as if the panic button wanted to be pressed. But I think fortunately we were able to keep our heads. We went back in the second half, regrouped ourselves, put ourselves together, and we knew we were going to win. We just needed to put our acts together, which we did. I think we are a team that is improving as the game goes on, which is a big plus. And I think the team is getting better by the day. Let's not forget that this team didn't play any major friendly before this competition. The only one that we had was about 2-3 days before the commencement of the competition. And this team too needed to get used to grass, the behavior and the bounce of the ball. All this we are getting used to, and I think the team is getting better by the day.
Assistant coach of the Chan Eagles, Imama Amapakabo there, very obviously delighted that Nigeria managed to make it into the quarterfinals of the African Nations Championship in Morocco. The players are not left out as well. They've also been reacting to that particular victory over Equatorial Guinea. Okay, we'll try and get the reactions of the player. I'm talking about Ikechukwu Ezenwa, who was in goal, considered his first goal of the tournament against Equatorial Guinea. That one is obviously one of those guys that, as the leader of the team, one of the most experienced. A lot of people are actually relying on him to try and lead this team to perhaps winning gold. How would you rate his performance so far in Morocco?
I think he's not actually necessarily been tested, but he's been in command of his area. The goal he could not do anything about. I think it was a very good header. The defender on the line, the defender on the line was probably, but I think he's been not been tested, so we cannot necessarily grade his game based on the 3 games we have seen so far. But for me, I think he's quite vocal. He's learned to be quite vocal, and the defense, like I said, is not the problem of this team. I think they got it right apart from the set-piece goal, which I thought was loosely defended. The Equatorial Guineans actually had 2 players. If the first one had missed it, the second one would have had it, and it shouldn't have been. But that was the only error I saw from them in the game. So for me, I think the defensive side of the team is good, and they're getting better. Okay, they're getting better. You get the impression that getting to the knockout stages now, a player like Ikechukwu Ezenwa will be tested a lot more than we've seen in the group stage. Definitely. I think, for me, I think we have what it takes to go all the way. The players, I just think that the majority of the problems come with the transition in play from the midfield to the attack. I think there's still a lot of work on cohesion going forward from here. So they need to work on the attack now. The defense looks good, but it can never be so good. But maybe it's time to look at how, to get the best out of the midfield, especially the wingers. And I think Emeka Wu, maybe he deserves a rest in the next game. Interesting. Coach Chidebere Ezeani, unfortunately, Salisu Yusuf will be making that call. Time for a break now. We'll come back. We'll be listening to captain of the team, Ikechukwu Ezenwa, and some of the other players.